Okay, here we go. Here we go. It always chops off the very beginning of the stream, so that's why I bring up this screen here, this one moment waiting screen, because this is the crap that's okay to be chopped off. But if I just started with my big stupid head, I'd have to sit there looking at the camera, waiting in some arbitrary amount of time that would get wrong until the stream was actually ready to go. And then when I started talking, no doubt I would have been blankly looking at the screen for some 30 seconds or so, like an idiot, like a weird, strange psychopath. So by now I've cleared the cutoff point, or that little chop off point at the beginning. So I'll switch to my big stupid head view. Hey, I'm Eric. I'm making a game. It's called the Godkiller. It's a good game. It's gonna be good. No, I shouldn't say it's a good game. It's not a good game yet. It's a good start of a game. So it's a top-down 3D puzzle-solving adventure game, the likes of which you have not seen. I promise that. But I'm not going to get too much into that right now. Every once in a while, I like to do a little demo and then like give a complete description of the game to someone who could be a newcomer. This stream won't be for that. I'll be more or less involved in specific tasks for the game without very much context about what the game is. But I want to show off something I've recently set up. So there was something I will continue to call the Great Dropbox Fail of 2019, which is when Dropbox not only didn't back up, actually no, I should say this correctly. It did succeed in backing up my data and making a copy of all my precious data off to its server, but it deleted all of the data off my local drives and made it very difficult for me to recover the data from their own server, even after some support sessions. So I was furious, absolutely furious. I had thought that, okay, maybe Dropbox or whatever service I'm using to do my offsite backups and synchronization might stop working on me, and then I would notice it and I'd say, oh shit, I better like do some backups and respond to that. I figured it's not that big a deal. If that service stops working, I'll just react to that. I'll respond to that. But it did something unprecedented. It deleted all the files off my computer. They have their reasons for that. They kind of make sense, except they're stupid and were not planned well. Anyways, so I would say long story short, but it's already been a long story. Long story not to be made longer. I took this event as a catalyst to update my entire work environment, and I've now got quite a few improvements. I ordered a second iMac, a more modern one, to not replace my other iMac, because I've got them both. Let me just show what the setup is now. So you can see this little diagram I threw together just now. This is streaming from my iPad. So I've got my old iMac that I no longer work on. I use it only for streaming. It's sort of like a hub for all the streaming stuff to go into and get encoded and go out to Twitch. So I've got my new iMac over here where I do all my work, like all the stuff in Unity, all the coding, a lot of kind of like image composition, audio editing, stuff like that, all the multimedia stuff, almost all of it I do on there. Now my iPad, I continue to do anything that needs drawing, because the iPad has a wonderful interface with the pencil. So I'll hold it up a little bit, where I can almost get that in the camera view. Here, I'll go back to my stupid head view. Okay, so you can draw right on it, right? So that's really nice. Like, I've had touchpads before. where you can have your hand off the side drawing on a tablet, but then you have to coordinate with your eyes how that affects things on the screen, and it's just a lot harder than and less intuitive than drawing directly on the thing that's going to show you what you're making, like a piece of paper. So anyways, the iPad I use for drawing stuff, and then both the work computer and the iPad, they go by these by network to this thing called Air Server. It's a piece of software that works really well that I put on the streaming computer, and those go into OBS as Siphon clients if you're interested. And then OBS, that's the broadcasting software that is used for streaming, encodes that all into a video stream and sends it up the internet to Twitch. Okay, so a cool thing about this setup, there's a number of good things about it actually. One is I can stream with my iPad, and I can share drawing with it. That's kind of like, it's not that important though. It's a nice little thing to do, but I'm not really here for streaming. It might seem like it, I've invested all this time in getting it set up this way, but it's sort of a secondary goal to put on an entertaining stream. The primary goal is to get this game done, right? So this new iMac has got better specs to it, and because none of the video streaming and encoding, other than like a little bit of stuff to get it off to the other computer, is performed on this box, it doesn't ruin the frame rate when I'm demoing. So I can hit play on the game here, and it started really fast comparatively. Like I used to have to wait like 30 seconds or so, and there's no frame rate problems. So I'm looking at the video that's being sent. It looks pretty smooth. It looks 30 frames per second smooth. I'm also, from my vantage point, I can see the original image that is being transferred, from the computer that has it, and that's like perfectly smooth, and it's going 60 frames per second. Okay, so the only downside with this new setup is that the audio from the game lags a bit. So if I press the button to move M to the right, you'll see her move to the right, and then you'll hear that shook just a little bit after. That's because it's packaging up the audio and video and sending it off to the streaming computer, and for whatever reason that introduces a little delay. Okay, so this room that I'm in is called the Death Box, and there's this really kind of crudely drawn mouth in the background. That will be an animated mouth that sings a song that I've written and produced, and the lips will be synchronized to the words or the vocals of that song. And in this session, I'm going to finish. I just said the word finish. That signals a commitment. I'm going to finish drawing the mouth frames, the real ones for this mouth. Right now it's got some quick placeholder art, but I'm going to make the real art that goes there. I'm going to do it on my iPad, and you can watch me draw if you want. Alright. So, get my iPad going. The one downside of this setup with the iPad is that it keeps losing its connection, so I have to start it up again. But that's not too hard. There we go. All right. I could show you like a bunch of other stuff too while I'm in here. Um, if you ever played the game The Witness, there were so many puzzles that were pretty tricky to do, but they weren't as hard if I could just take a screenshot of the screen and then just draw on my tablet to figure out the puzzle. There were so many things like that. There was probably like maybe 20 or 30 different puzzles in the game that I took a screenshot and then just solved the puzzle on my tablet instead of in the game. And once I had the solution, I went into the game. Witness, very cool game, one of my favorites. Some early, super early mocks, like over half a year ago, where I was thinking about like what the view might be for the game. For a while, I was thinking I would have like hand-drawn 2D art for the characters, but it's just so time-consuming compared to a simple 3D model. I do like the look of 2D art a lot. But yeah, I experimented with some things where like the torso would be one layer, and then the legs would be another layer, and then kind of like the head maybe a third layer, then positioning so that they would look 3D-ish. It was just too much work. And that's some more kind of mocks. At this point, I had some 3D backgrounds that were from like the early version of the game, so I would take a screenshot of them and then draw stuff on top of them. So here I was playing with the idea of trails behind the different characters to show their movement. Here's an old kind of icon that I made to represent the main character, but the main character changed to be female, or at least presents as female. So that's gone away. So then here I was getting really enamored with the idea of cables, and I did end up writing a bunch of code to make cables with these nice curves that are mathematically calculated. And so I just did some experiments here. I think there's like some earlier stuff too. These are all just in layers. Yeah. So it's just kind of a cheap way to mock up some potential 3D artwork or cosmetics that go in the scene without having to do all the modeling. So I have this very plain background here, and I just draw on top of it. Here I was playing with the idea of having a face above the character that would correspond to the character talking, since the camera is not going to ever be in a position to look at the 3D model's face. Camera is pretty relentlessly going to stay in top-down mode. So we have this 2D image that appears above the top, and it also scratches my itch to use 2D art for something as important as expressing the character's face. Really like 2D art. Okay, more overlay stuff. Yeah, the idea of these giant doors, which I haven't shown much yet in this. In the very first stream, I think I showed these giant doors where you hit the doorknob and it opens up the door. Those doors will be in a certain area of the game. It's also these things that I was calling water knobs. I'll have to call them something else now because the Thematically, they've been changed a little bit, but the idea is they raise this platform, which is kind of like a water level, except I'm calling it an elevation field, so it won't actually be water. Anyways, so there's those, and then the friggin' God hand. Where is that at? Oh yeah, I was just playing with the idea. What does it look like if there's like a giant hand that's kind of in the scene pointing down? I do kind of like having the arm attached to it too, and having the arm extend all the way up, but that ruined my my idea to have kind of standard gestures that are used while the person's talking. So yeah, so the arm I had to let go. Here I'm kind of playing around with ideas for, let me switch this around, for displaying like a overall world map, but I don't think I'll do that. Not like it's shown here. And actually, this whole layout here goes along with an entirely different story that I've since thrown away. And also, this was like back when I was thinking I wanted to do seamless levels, where you would just keep on moving throughout the 3D world and it would load in the next piece of the next area that you're going to seamlessly. But that is a lot of work, and I need shortcuts. I need ways to make this task simpler. So I got rid of that. So now there's levels. You go through them, you reach an end, and then you go on to the next one. It's fairly linear too. Okay, let's see. What's this? Oh, another kind of like a level chooser type thing. Okay, so let me get to the maw, the mouths I'm making. So at this point, I've roughed them out. This set of mouths is based on something called the Preston Blair mouth chart. Preston Blair was one of the original Disney animators. They've got it's like a group name like the 9 Big Men or something. I forget what it is. It's called something like that. The Disney 9, the founding fathers of Disney animators, something like that. There's like some small number of them, and he was one of them. And he came up with a set of visemes, which are visual expressions of a mouth making a sound, that cover speech pretty well. Now, I've seen other mouth charts that are a little more granular. There's one in Adobe Character Animator, which has got, it looks like 3 or 4 extra mouth positions. But I've done some mouth animation, and I found, this works fine for me too. This set here, and I wrote some software that allows easily editing mouth movements for audio, so that the character's mouth will move along with it. So I'm going to continue making refinements to these mouths. This character is called the Maw, and I just showed him where he appears to you. I'll refresh your memory. The Maw appears on the ground underneath M when she's inside of the death box. And bam, okay. Another thought occurs to me. I think I can play the audio, and the stream will get the proper audio. Actually, I don't know now. I don't know if the stream is kind of doubling up on the audio, like getting it from the microphone and it's boring. It's boring. It's boring. I will muse on that later. Okay. So this mouth doesn't look quite right to me yet. I'm gonna fix it up a little more. The tricky part about it for me here is it's so long. So my habits, I mean it's long horizontally. So my habits I've previously kind of set up for making these mouths that I've done like half a dozen rigs, they're off. They're just slowing me down a little bit to have this big, wide mouth. Okay, does that look right yet? I think this part's just a little too much. So the FV is like, it's one of the nice frames to show. So the thing about mouth animation is when you see it in the animation, it's stylized. It's more expressive than like a video of watching someone talk. So if someone happens to say in mouth animation one of the less common or says a sound like FV, which corresponds to one of the less commonly visible bizemes, like you always want to show the FV, or at least my theory is you always do. I think it looks better. Same for some of the other bizemes like MBP or O. They're less frequently come up. So this one I like to get right. L is another uncommon one that is good to get right. Okay, this seems pretty close. Let me fix this side over here. Now I'm comparing against the other stuff to make sure I'm staying somewhat consistent. I want the line weight to be about the same. Here I'm noticing that the mouth above my FV mouth has thicker lines. So I'm going to come back down to the FV mouth and thicken up the lines a little bit. Let's take another look. Not bad. Still noticing small differences between the two, and I want it to be pretty consistent. This looks a little sloppy over here. Okay, so I'm going to take this other thing that's off to the left, which is my reference, and move it down so I can start on the next mouth. The software I'm using is called Procreate. Ironically, my reference has become more sloppy than the mouths that I'm working on. So I'll have to go back and clean up, not the reference, but the other art that's off in the top left that is the reference is based on. Okay, so I decided to add in the teeth last, so that's one thing I need to do. This is the L mouth. Let's select the L mouth. Okay, I gotta get my reference over there. just so I can get the teeth right. So another thing I learned from Preston Blair is that when you have things that you draw, you want to show as much as you can. So I have this tongue in here, and I don't want to draw teeth in such a way that make it unclear what the tongue is. So I may cheat a little bit. I might move the teeth over from where they would be if I followed strictly the reference. I might make these teeth just a tiny bit smaller. So I do want the point of the tooth to go beneath the tongue. This is again that rule from Preston Blair about showing as much as you can. This is one of the things that you can't get with 3D art. There are not these refinements, these cheats. So if you've got just a 3D model and it knows that, mathematically the tooth belongs in a certain spot, and that means that the point of the tooth is disappearing into the line of the tongue, there's nothing to correct for that. So I've made these teeth extra long because I want the point to come down underneath this line here. This is why I say I love 2D art. I've got the same challenge here. Do I want the point of the tooth to be underneath the bottom of the tongue, or do I want it to bring it up pretty high to go up above that part of the tongue? So it feels like if I go all the way up here, whoops. If I take that tooth all the way up there, that's too high. So I'm not going to do that. But I have one other option, which is I can move the bottom of the tongue down a little bit. So now at the bottom of the tongue is down further than, I don't have to go up quite as far to have the point of the tooth avoid disappearing into the line of the tongue. Okay. Okay, so the other teeth they're simpler. Also, I'm taking some extra pains with showing the teeth because I've only got two colors here. I could have made the maw have colors, but I felt like he's something that's kind of abstract. He's an image underneath him on the floor. So I just like the idea of keeping him in two colors. That's not quite it. Okay, that tooth's up too high. So there's all these little compromises. Compromises between maybe correctness and showing what you want to show. Okay, so over here, how many teeth did I go over? Oh yeah, I got room for show one more tooth. Now, again, I'll go with this principle. If I go for correctness, then the tooth's over here like this. Actually, the tooth is like not even quite visible. It's just a little bit of a white blot over there. That's the correct way to do it. Like if you were just kind of going by the books where the tooth should be. But if I wanted to show more, I bring it in just a little bit. And that's a compromise with correct. Same thing over on this side. Although here it's maybe a little bit easier to be correct and less cheating involved. Okay. I'm just eyeballing that just a little bit longer. Okay, so let me get my line weight correct. Yeah. I'm noticing that the two sides of the mouth are a fair amount different. The one over here on the right kind of looks how I want it to look. On the left, I think it's raised up a little more. I'm going to try to make it a little more symmetrical. Alright, let me compare against the others. So I think I don't need to take that tongue down quite as far as I did. So I'm going to ease up on that a little bit. Okay, I see some blurriness over here, make it a little crisper. Okay. Pretty happy with that. Alright. Then I'm going to move on to O. Bring my reference down so I can see it when I zoom in. Trying to remember if you see the tongue on O or not. O, L, L, O, eh. No. Nah, I don't think so. Alright, so then let's go in and do the teeth. Do the teeth. I should make them larger. Alright, I feel like I should clean up this mouth line a bit before I finish with the teeth. That lip is too thin, too thin, too thin. This one kind of looks like the obey mouth. I wasn't trying for that, but it kind of sounds like, I mean, looks like the shepherd fairy obey mouth. And, you know, shepherd fairy, I suppose he could complain that I was stealing his work by referencing it like that. Except that that's the kind of thing that he does. So he'd be a hypocrite if he ever said that. So I'll show you. Bird. Fairy. Oh, how close am I? Oh, not that close. It just reminded me a tiny little bit. Yeah, with Shepherd Fairy, like he took like a photo of Obama and used that for his painting, and you know, the photographer that had taken that picture, it's like, well, you didn't work out any kind of agreement with me on that, thief. I kind of see the photographer's point, but in my case, I don't think I'm that close. I don't think I'm that close. Almost done with these. I am going to finish these in this session. Kind of thinking about like how else I may want to use the time in the session. Because the tradition for Sundays is I don't write code, at least on during the session, in the stream. Because I want like some kind of streaming activity where if somebody was not interested in code, they could still follow along. So I might do like the start of some levels. It'd be an interesting test of the new setup I've got, because I've been avoiding doing 3D modeling or 3D composition inside of Unity during streams, because with my old setup it was really slow, but I detect no slowdown inside of Unity with the new setup caused by streaming. And it's really fast. So I think I should be able to stream that really well. Which is cool, because that's like one of the more enjoyable things to stream. I've got a lot of levels to create too. I'm actually looking, if there's one part of this that I'm looking forward to more than anything else, it's level creation. But what I've been doing along the way, so I don't kind of trick myself into thinking I'm further along than I am, is just finishing up each thing that a level requires. So I'm trying to have less situations where I say it's done, but there's just this one thing I gotta come back to later. I want to be more like it's done, period. I can't be 100% that way, because there's some activities that really you want to do them all at one time, or most of it all at one time. So that would be the stuff around dialogue and recording audio. So I anticipate that I will go through So on my iPad, I can't see some smudge as well as I can on my monitor. So I'm actually like looking at my monitor and noticing like there's a few stray pixels. And I think the reason is that my iPad surface is a little bit dirty, like with just junk from my hand. Anyways, I found some smudge by looking at the screen. So streaming actually helped me, because that other monitor wouldn't be showing that. So what I was saying is, I want to have all the dialogue written and working in the game in like a text form before I go to a complete set of recording sessions with actors, because that's the thing you want to do mostly all at one time. You get the actors with consistent voices. Oops, don't do that. I gotta switch over to so I'll tell you why. So if you ask the actor, is it okay if we record this at different times? Can we just come back and record your character again later for these extra lines? I go, yeah, no problem. But then you listen to the voice and it sounds a little bit different the second time that you record it. Because it took them like a little bit of work to load in that voice and practice it and, kind of get it booted up and ready to go. And when you come back for a second session, it's months away. They haven't been doing that voice every day or anything like that. There's like a 50% chance they'll get it the same way they did before. Or you could put it differently. If they do get it exactly the way that they did before, it's probably because they spent an extra amount of time practicing. And that's inefficient too. I mean, I don't want them to spend like 4 hours fiddling around to get the exact same voice. Then there's other factors like studio rental. So right now, recording everything from home recording environments, I do have access to one studio in my building that's pretty good. It's actually really good. It looks unprofessional, but I record great stuff in it. But right now it's like one actor records it from their living room. Somebody else, they've got this really close in closet environment that they built where it just sounds like they're whispering in your ear. Somebody else sounds like not quite so intimate. They sound like they're just in the same room with you when you do the recording of it, and then you put all those things together and they don't sound like they're all in the same place. And there's differences in quality. You'll have one person start talking and suddenly there's this background noise while they're speaking, and that's because the recording quality isn't that good. Anyways, so you get the studio together all at one time. You get the actors there all at one time. Whoever's running the studio, they've got the same microphone available in that session. They've got the same preamp, or all the same gear is there during that session. So ideally, you record everybody the same way at the same time, and it sounds right. Whenever there's a big gap, like all the chances for things to not be the same as they were before go way up. So for that reason, I want to get all the lines together, be 98% sure that's the final dialogue, and then record. And That's how you get good audio. There was another game that we did community audio with, called Drod, Deadly Rooms of Death. And that was fun. It's fun to do community audio. Community audio is you get the players to, or anybody who's interested, to audition and send in their recordings. And you get people of widely varying talents. You get a lot of people that, like, they don't sound professional, but they are interesting to listen to, and it's fun. You know, it's like a fun way to do it. It does not produce the best audio. A lot of inconsistencies, you know, but it's just not the process that gives you good sounding audio. Okay, so that's MVP. MVP is easier because no teeth. Closed mouth, no teeth. So how's that look? Polish that up a little bit more. Is that too much? No, looks good. Let's get the other side. So I did write a complete story outline for the game, and it's maybe 15 pages long, something like that, and it says like everything that happens in the game, and but it does it like not at the dialogue level. So like if there's an exchange where two characters talk and one says a bunch of jokes and somebody else, like it doesn't have it at that level. It's got more like Glyph expresses doubt in the plan. That's it. So that might translate to 5 or 6 lines of dialogue. So I don't have all the dialogue written. I don't want to write all the dialogue all at once. That's something I discovered going through the first few levels. Oh yeah, let's get my reference art working. Reference, put you over here so I can see the teeth. Okay. And I'm on you. Alright, clean up the mouth lines first. They are a mess. So I got that done. Not the dialogue, but just all the things that'll happen in the game. I know what they are now. There's still I hear somebody on a motorcycle outside. There's still room to change it. But I can say that if the game included everything that was in my story outline, I'm not saying like everybody that played it would enjoy the story, but there will be a bunch of people who are like, wow, I have not played a game that had a story like that. And it's got one joke in it that has like the longest setup of a joke I've ever written. It's so ridiculously long, and I think it's really funny as a result. Because I can't give it away, but it's like a joke that takes hours to set up. Like even like the first scenes where the character is being shown, in this case it's Billy, they're starting to set up that joke, and the joke doesn't come until like maybe the last 20 minutes or so of the game. And I think it's good. It makes me laugh. I wish I could tell it without ruining it. There's also an exploration of the ideas of like, if there is a God, if a God does exist, what would that be like? What would that be like for the people that have to live in a universe where it's clear, it's obvious, there's no doubt that the God exists? What would it be like for the God? So like a lot of times in fiction, in fiction that has a God character in it, there's been many. There's the idea of God being ineffable, meaning you don't know what his plan is, you don't know what he's thinking, you can't fathom it. If he just told you, you wouldn't understand it. And I prefer in stories that the author rise to the challenge. That if there is something that's kind of mysterious, that at some point the door gets open and you look at that thing, you get a chance to see it. And you give up something when you do that as an author. You give up kind of that mystique. So I'll give you an example of a game where a very good game, a game I liked a lot, The Witness, which I talked about just a little bit earlier. So it trades on this mystique, and there's a lot of really evocative stuff in there, just really interesting stuff, and I don't want to ruin it for anyone who's not played it. I think the story elements of it are worthwhile, and they do add to the game, and they do get your brain going about like what happened before I got here, with all these remnants of the past around me. I do like that kind of thing. I do think it was done well in The Witness, but I suppose this is a spoiler of sorts, but it's also the type of spoiler that kind of warns people about whether or not they're going to like it. So in the broadest sense, it is a spoiler. The spoiler is you will not get an explanation of the mysteries. That's the spoiler. And I think, like, if you show something that's really thought-provoking and makes people wonder what's up with it, if you can come through with some kind of explanation that's rewarding, that's the challenge to rise to. And there's another game that I made where I think I did that. It's called The Second Sky. And pretty much everything in the games leading up to it, where somebody was saying something kind of cryptic or weird, or there was something real that I had thought out. Not real, but there was something that in the fictional world that I had thought out that was the basis of the earlier mysterious text or whatever, dialogue. So in the Godkiller, it's the same philosophy. Mysteries are presented, weird, cosmic mysteries, just the whole nature of the fucking universe type things. And at the end, I try and make something cool to show for all the mysteries. It's not just like going to be enshrouded in secrecy. So that's what I can say about the game without giving things away. I am pretty excited about it. I think I've got something really good in the story outline. The hard part of this will be getting the thing built. But I'm pretty confident in that too. I've made big games before. Not big for me. They're not big by modern standards. But I've made games that took years to complete and had complex stories in them. So these things can get done. These things are achievable. Alright, so now I've got this same kind of cheat going on where I'm making the teeth a little bit bigger to make sure that the point goes underneath the tongue line. If it's too much, I might lower the tongue. Let me try it first though. No, they're really going down. I think that's too much. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's okay. I changed my mind. Okay. Now, I like this thing with the middle tooth that's not symmetrical, or that the teeth fit together like gear teeth. I guess it is symmetrical, but it's not. Well, it's horizontally symmetrical, but not vertically. So if you ever find that you've got pointy teeth, you'll be in a better situation if your bottom row of teeth is kind of not aligned with your top row. The thing that would suck a lot is if you have pointy teeth and they just kind of like touch together on the tips. That would suck. That makes me wonder, like, how do animals' teeth fit together? I think it's got to be different case by case, but I don't know. So you think about like a dog's teeth. They probably don't. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to look at that in a bit. How do animals with fang teeth, which is most of them, humans are the ones that've got the weird chompers like cows. I guess cows have got flat teeth. Horses, like grazing animals, and then animals that are predatory usually have got fangs, but not humans. We're really predatory. We don't got the fangs though. But yeah, but fang teeth, fangs with your pointy teeth. How do they tend to fit together for real world animals? Because they don't have like a weird middle tooth like I'm giving this guy. Okay, man, this is the part where it's starting to get like a little bit tough to keep my concentration on this task. It's basically just a lot of attention to detail. I've got like something in me that says like I kind of wish I was done doing this. It's probably the thing that kept me from being like a proper artist, like a professional artist. Professional artist, he gets this kind of fatigued feeling that I'm getting over, working on these details of a drawing. He just keeps going. I was watching this documentary with another old-time Disney animator, Floyd. His last name Floyd or first name Floyd? What's that guy's name? Disney. Floyd Norman. Okay. Yeah, Floyd Norman. Okay, so he worked at Disney on all kinds of feature film animations. He worked on Snow White, I think. No, not Snow White. He came after that. I don't know. Just a ton of them. Just a ton of them. And then people kept trying to promote him. Well, I mean, towards the middle and end of his career. His career hasn't ended yet, but and they would say, do story, or do get more into the production aspects of it. And he wanted to do tweening. He wanted to do all the grunt work, in my mind, of animation, which is drawing all the frames between keyframes. That was just really enjoyable for his brain, just to spend hours and hours every day doing that. He was obviously very good at it. To me, that just seems like hell. I mean, I like tasks like this, but there's part of me that's more like, I want the thing that I'm producing. I'm not in it for the activity itself. Like, I get excited knowing that I'll have these art assets in the game with an animated mouth, and that some audio is going to play, and that this mouth is going to move around. That's the part that gets me excited. It's not sitting down and slaving over these things. Like, I'm working on this, and I'm thinking, this is going to be cool when it's in the game. That's my thought. It's not, I really want to do this thing I'm doing right now. And I'm not bad at it too, which is, I mean, that's the weird thing. So there's, it's like things that I'm not good at that I like doing. There's a few things like that. So playing the guitar is something I'm not even close to competent at. But I'll sit down and fuck around with some strings for a little bit, and I don't even really know any chords. It takes me like 10 seconds to switch from one chord to another. But it's fun to just kind of fuck around. Not good at. Other things I'm kind of good at, like this, but I don't like them that much. And a few things I'm good at and I like doing. A few things. Actually, usually everything that I'm good at doing, I like doing for a while, and then I get tired. So that's the recipe for becoming a generalist. Is a nice way of putting it, or a dilettante is the mean way of saying it. Meaning you never get good at anything because you're just kind of playing with it in an uncommitted way. But I won't be too hard on myself because I'm getting shit done. And that's my measure of, am I being like some weird kind of narcissistic idiot that just does things to amuse himself and thinks he's really cool but is full of shit? No, because I've got like my work output. If I have something done at the end of it that I can show, that I can say, oh, here's the thing that went into, then I know I'm not some deluded idiot. I can be deluded about the quality of what I'm doing, but if the end result is it's a thing that you can see, touch, feel, play with, then it's been worthwhile in my book. So I'm very much oriented to what is the thing that will be created? What is the thing that will exist that expresses me when this effort is done? I'm not really much of a performer. I don't have that mentality. I don't like lose myself in the work, enjoy the work for its own sake. I want the thing to be done. I want it to exist. impatient for it to exist. This is the last of the mouths, and that will allow me to deliver on my promise of finishing the mouth animations in this session. I'm curious how much time I've spent on it. I'm guessing that I've only been on this for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm guessing that I will finish it entirely at the hour and 30-minute mark. I'm curious how far off my estimate is. I haven't looked at the time while this is going, so it might be that I'm way off. Could be I only spent like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And I just did accidentally glance down at the time, and I actually had it pretty fucking close. 1 minute, 1 hour and 12 minutes. So I had said an hour and 15 minutes. And I'd estimated that I'll be done with this task at the 1:30 mark. Now I have to update my estimate. I think I will be done at the 1:20 mark. 1:20. That's when I think I'll be done with this particular task. I like that thing too in like movies with vampires and other creatures where their teeth get in the way of clear enunciation. So I'm not going to have this character be like that. I've already recorded his audio, which is me talking in this mean voice. And it doesn't really work for it to be like a Transylvanian lisp or something like that. But it's kind of funny that like whenever you have like a character that's got monster teeth, that if you just follow like the rules of sound and how they travel through solid objects and like where your tongue can be when you speak and things like that, he's gonna sound stupid. He's gonna sound like his mouth is full of I want to suck your blood. Alright. So that seems pretty good. Alright, let me just zoom out and look at them as a whole. Not bad. Not bad. Now what's bugging me if I look at them all? The M line looks a little bit rough. Let me see if that's true when I zoom in. Yeah, MVP looks like it needs a little bit of work. I think they look pretty good. Pretty good. What about you? You've got some asymmetry. I'm not surprised that it's the last ones I worked on that are bugging me the most. Because, like I said, there's fatigue going on, and it tends to lead to me being a little bit sloppy. So let me clean up a few things. Oh, gotta pick the right layer. Okay, that's pretty good. And we fix the asymmetry here. Keep forgetting. Okay, so this is you. Is this you? I think this is you. Yeah, it's you. Okay. I've got one side of his mouth is coming up too far. If I just bring it down a little bit, that'll be fine. Oops. If I was just really, really skillful, there would be no touch-up on these lines, because I would have sort of used the pressure sensitivity going along with the properties of the tool to get the line thickness exactly how I wanted it, without coming back to touch it up. So if I touch lightly and I draw across, there's a thin line. And if I push down harder on it, it makes it thicker. Now, I don't have the precision of control to get all the lines to the weight I want with that type of technique. So having lesser skills with my manual dexterity, I end up doing kind of a more granular cleanup of the lines. But there's some people, they just get it right on the first stroke. Your Floyd Normans of the world. And part of that is having the same tools used all the time. So if you've got your favorite quill pen and you swear it by using it every single time, and you know like the right amount of ink to put on it, and you do one little test stroke and you know exactly, you can look at it and you can see maybe you put too much ink on it. Like if you are so tied into your tools that you can predict them and control them well, then you can get a lot of speed from that. But I'm not there. I probably never will be because of my dilettante problem. So let's see. Get rid of the ref. Don't need it anymore. And I went past my hour and 20-minute mark. But I did tell myself that I was going to fix up this neutral, clean it up a little bit. This is the image that will get shown while the character is not speaking. And I chose to have it be an open mouth. Because I think during the times of the song when he's not speaking, it's more interesting to see his mouth open. And his name is the Maw. So you ought to see his threatening teeth plenty. Okay. Oh man. So my technique when I made this first mouth was quite a bit different. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna get this mouth line right and then draw the teeth in over it, or I will be futzing around with the teeth forever. I'm going to show you one more cool thing after I get done with this mouth. I can kind of like feel the differences in more recent drawing decisions I've made. I think I've been drawing these teeth a lot larger. So I'm going to correct for that here, so that I arrive at more consistency. Ugh. Okay. When I know I'm almost done, it actually makes it more likely that I'm going to mess something up if I start getting sloppy. I'm just about done. I can just stop doing this. I can almost be done. Almost there. Gotta make it sound like it's something really horrible. It's not. It's just you do it for a while. I don't know. if I do it for a while, all that attention to detail is fatiguing. And other activities like writing code, not so much. I go 10 hours writing code. It's no big deal. It's a little bit hard to go 10 hours, but 10 hours drawing mouths would drive me crazy. I had one project, one of the few projects where I was a professional graphic designer, illustrator type person. There have not been many. But I had really a pretty ideal project. I got to pick what I would draw for some fantasy backgrounds. And for this game, it had to have kind of like a fantasy theme, like wizards and stuff like that. So I just got to pick, so I had like a room inside of a castle. I had a dragon breathing fire at the top of a mountain, that kind of thing. I got to pick. I could pick the subject. And then, there was a deadline, and I had to meet the deadline. I had to draw that stuff. And in order to do it, I couldn't just draw when I felt like drawing. I had to get up in the morning, start drawing, and go all day. Damned if I wasn't so sick and tired of drawing. Really tired of it. And it's one of those things that made me realize, I didn't miss my calling by not being an artist professionally. What I've got now, a situation where I do some drawing every once in a while. That's pretty ideal. That's pretty rewarding. Okay, so this is done, and I'm going to do one thing which I think is kind of neat. It's a little bit self-indulgent, but you may enjoy it. Okay. So if I go up here, I can do time-lapse replay. Do it. So here's from the very beginning. Oh, this is picking up even the previous document that I used to draw M. So you're going to see me drawing M here too. Because before I start on these mouths, I used another file to make M and all of her stuff, and then I made a copy of that file maybe a week or so ago, and kind of erased all the M stuff from it and put in all of the Ma into it. So this is essentially, it's a time lapse of both projects. So yeah, M, I started out kind of making her look like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who has a really cool face. And then some mistakes I made while trying to draw Phoebe Waller-Bridge made her look entirely not like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but I liked what she looked like there better. So I just said, well, it was never my goal to make this character look like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. It's just there was some aspects of her face that I wanted to copy over, and that didn't really work out. I kind of accidentally hit on some other things I like better. And skin started out lighter. And then I think at this point I changed it to make it darker. My thoughts around that were just that, like I don't like it how I kind of like by default draw Anglo people all the time, and just like a little bit of representation is nice without it being like a big political statement. I just kind of want like a few people with other skin tones to be in there, so it's not just some big whiteout. But it's a little bit moot for the story because there's no concept of race inside of it. That there isn't even a concept of gender. You'll see people that look male or female, but they're officially genderless in this world. And things get created not by sexual reproduction, but by this creation process that was designed into the universe. Alright, so then I went through the same process with M's mouths, with the Blair Visemes. Hers were harder to do than the Ma in some ways. The only hard thing about the Ma was that he had this big wide mouth, whereas M's is fitting more the ratio than I'm used to. But with M I had to do full color on it, so that took a little bit longer. And you can see the reference that I'm dragging along from the left side. Her mouth's more complicated too than the Ma's. It's got little curves in it in extra places. And just in general, drawing a monster is always easier than drawing something that's supposed to approximate real life. It's supposed to be close to what a human being actually looks like. You draw a monster face and maybe your hand slips a little bit. Now we switch over to the Ma. And it just kind of draws a completely different shape than you intended. It's usually an okay mistake because it's just a monster. Monsters are sort of misshapen by default. We went past it really fast there, but I played a little bit with different details that I wanted to include with the mouth. I almost put like a little indentation underneath the nose, which is that cleft that many people have beneath their noses. Well, I mean everybody does, but it's more visible with certain people. But it made it a little too busy, and particularly with that stretched out horizontal aspect of his mouth, it didn't seem to work well, so I took that out. So yeah, that was the time lapse of that. Okay, so now it's 1:35, and I don't know if it makes sense for me to start something else. I think this is probably a good time to stop the stream. I do like to have a task that kind of neatly ends inside of a stream, and this has been that task. It's nice to have this Ma thing done. I will have to do a little more work to integrate them into that scene later on. And then I'll have the music playing, I'll have the lip sync animation, and the overall effect should be really cool, I think. So I will switch over to, I'll give you one more thing before I take off here. because I'm actually interested in like how well the audio will play through the stream with this particular setup. So let me go to the song. It's already written. It's a creepy song. You may not like it. It's very 90s industrial meets musical. Let's see. So let me go to documents. Godkiller. Work assets. Songs. I was going to call it 10,000 Knives, and then I changed the name of it to We Got the Knives. Let's see how this sounds through the stream.
Oh, little nothing, you have strayed. Oh, little nothing, you are afraid that all your pieces fell apart, they fell below. Oh, little nothing, where did they go? We see you here, your sad little face. Come to cry, come to beg for our grace. Can we put you back together? Yes, we can. Can we put you back together? Yes, we can. Back in. Will we put you back together? That's the plan. We got the knife! To fix you, to slice you, to bite you, to grind you, unwind you. Because we got the knife! To find you, to hurt you, revert you, revise you, paralyze you. You know we got to steal you. Reveal you, defeat you, complete you, devour you, empower you, because we got back to life. Oh, one way back to life, just one way back to life. It's gonna need a knife. Think hard, little child, before you go someplace wild.
Alright, so that's that. That's the song. There was some distortion that was coming from the streaming setup. I'm going to play it back. I'm kind of curious what it sounded like. Alright, it's been a session. The things I said I was going to do, I did. It's time to stop. Stopping the stream. Stopping the stream. Stopping it right now.